Billions lost. Most wasteful megaprojects in the world. It's pretty fair to say that we're fairly used to it these days. The idea that billions and billions of dollars are wasted every year on completely stupid things. And the reason for that is that such insanely high numbers are usually the point at which the average Joe who earns $20,000 a year cannot relate to. But if you think about it, billions wasted on endeavors that ultimately go nowhere and accomplish nothing is a subject that every able-bodied adult in the world should be furious about. Let's help to reconnect some of you with just how totally misguided some of these efforts are, and how billions were lost on the 5 most wasteful megaprojects in the world. Number 1. Interstate H-3 in Hawaii. Okay, we'll begin with this amazingly picturesque and gorgeous-looking highway in Hawaii, also known as the Aloha State. Here in this picturesque landscape, the 26-kilometer-long interstate known as H3 takes drivers and passengers through one of the more beautiful areas of this planet. In fact, this area is so beautiful, there were actually concerns about drivers stopping to take pictures and causing accidents. There's actually a lot of history to this highway though, as it was first proposed in 1960. Back then, it was considered from a perspective of national defense, as the highway was intended to connect Pearl Harbor Naval Base to Marine Corps Air Station on the eastern coast. However, even back then, environmentalists pushed back against it. There were serious concerns that the urbanization of a beautiful county area would ruin it. As a result, the plan had to be delayed to come up with solutions to the route. Eventually, in the late 80s, the project was exempted from environmental laws and finally cleared to begin construction, with it taking until 1997 to open. That took 37 years. In fact, the highway is considered something of a work of engineering genius because of the technologies that had to be implemented to build such a road in such a place. In an effort to preserve the valleys below, the entire thing runs more or less exclusively over viaducts. However, the delays, debates, and constant need for replanning meant that it cost over $1.3 billion, 5 times the original $250 million estimate. That means it cost about $50 million per kilometer. But worst of all, the defense concerns that were prevalent in the 60s are no longer relevant, and the road has no real use to regular people as it has no direct route to Honolulu. Number 2. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain. Everyone knows that Spain is one of the most visited travel destinations in Europe, and that was something that was seriously considered when the idea for this Ciudad Real Central Airport was first on the table. Planned to become the go-to place for holiday makers both within the country and also for international travelers, the point of this new airport was to take some of the heat off the main airport in Madrid that was majorly overcrowded already. The new airport would have one of the top 5 longest runways in the whole of Europe and be able to serve 2 million passengers a year, which isn't actually that much when you think about it. Madrid Airport has a capacity of 70 million per year. Anyway, when the airport was finally opened in 2009, people probably thought it was a reasonable expenditure of $1.3 billion. But the problem that came next was devastating, as the company behind the project went bankrupt. The central airport wasn't at all central, located 200 kilometers from Madrid, adding massive travel times for passengers, so they didn't use it. Airlines avoided it too. So that means that after spending all that money with no passengers and no airlines, all they had after the first year was $350 million of debt. Ouch. Useless. Naypyidaw, Myanmar. From crazy airports that never get used to building a new capital city, built totally from scratch. So Myanmar used to have military leadership, and they secretly started to build a new capital city in total secrecy back in 2002. This isn't something unheard of, as many other countries have done similar things, like Brazil and Pakistan. But anyway, in 2005, the leaders in Myanmar announced the decision but didn't reveal the new city's name for 4 months, and it turned out to be Naypyidaw, which means the king's residence. Some thought it was for a sea defense, while others thought it was based on astrology. But it was actually because the former capital of Yangon had a population of 7 million, and the government thought that its growth would outpace the infrastructural potential by 2050. The new project was built quickly and cost $4 billion, containing everything a city could need, except the population. There are currently 1 million residents, and most of them already there. No one wants to live there because of the lack of health facilities, educational institutes, and economic opportunity. You know, those things that humans want. The only silver lining is that there's still time for them to fix this ghost city. Number 4. Forest City, Malaysia. Okay, moving from a dead city to a super green future-topian one, built on 4 artificial islands and to be built around an artificial forest. The forest city's location is close to Singapore, which makes it a haven for investors, and in fact, there's a bridge already linking the two places. It all sounds great, but the project is mostly funded through Chinese investments, which means Chinese residents had a free pass in essence to the city. This means that wealthy Chinese investors capitalized off the forest city, and by 2019, 80% of the property owners were Chinese. Street signs were in Mandarin, and schools were teaching Mandarin too. Prices have skyrocketed, meaning the native Malaysians haven't had the chance of living there. There was a public outcry against the city, citing colonialism. So the new government banned foreigners from owning property in the forest city, which pushed out the investors. And then when COVID came, as few as 500 people were living in the entire city. This project was too ambitious, and now too laced with politics to have any goodwill left towards it. Number 5. Yucca Mountain Nuclear Waste Repository. Well, this has to be one of the stupidest ones. A nuclear waste repository that should be saving humanity but isn't. In the 80s, the US authorities tried to figure out what to do about nuclear waste, and they decided on Yucca Mountain in Nevada, close to the most used nuclear testing site and far away from population centers. They planned to deposit waste from the entire country under the mountain, using tunnels 300 meters under the mountain. But the Nevadan citizens were totally against it. There were also concerns about the hydrological and geological surveys of the mountain. Also, there aren't any nuclear reactor sites in Nevada, so Congress and the public were both against it. See? Stupid. By the time Obama came to power, the whole thing had been politicized beyond belief. And in 2010, the administration stopped its funding. Decades of planning, legal troubles, and over $17 billion have been totally wasted here for literally nothing. The current administration, whatever you think of their ability to achieve anything, has been silent about the project, meaning that Nevada has effectively won the battle after 40 years. Great job, America. But what do you think about these insanely ambitious, exorbitantly expensive projects? Do you think any of them have some merit? Maybe you want to live in a city with no other people in it. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. For more sensational currency-related videos, use that gray matter and check out other videos, like countries that plan to officially use cryptocurrency, and the Great Reset as foretold by the World Economic Forum. Like, subscribe to Big Brain Money, and share this video.